one of the greatest chaos I've ever been part of. Normal Christie, I'd have probably got backhanded or...
I don't know about you, but I remember where I was at when the direction of my life was formed, Michigan International Speedway, on August 23rd, 1974, when I saw Richard Petty's fire red and petty blue Dodge go screaming by. Since then, probably just like you, we've been hooked. From our first media gig at the tender age of 15 in 1983 with Grand National Scene, to printing our own Supercars Today magazine in the 1990s, hence our name. Nothing against our open wheel friends, but if it has fenders, our nosy nature wants to find out the who, the why, and the how. We don't necessarily interview these people, we have conversations. So please subscribe to our channel and hit that bell to be notified of new content every Tuesday at noon. Thanks for watching, and please like, comment on, and share these videos. Today on the program,
so we've looked at this, from a lot of different angles, as far as you cross the line, you got all these emotions going through your head. I'm sure one of the first things in your head is, who do I want to see first? Who do I want to celebrate with first? I mean, like Ricky Stenhouse said, that him and the crew talked about, we're going to climb the fence together, and he turned around, they're all gone. So I climbed it myself. But I mean, the crew didn't make it out into the front stretch, if I'm not mistaken. And just Jamie Howe, the interviewer, made it out there.
Yeah.
But what were you thinking? It's like, who do I want to see first? Who do I want to thank first? Who do I want to hug first?
Yeah, so you can see when I'm celebrating, I look over for my guys, right? Because I'm
Are they going to run that far?
Right, I'm picturing like all my crew, my guys, we're going to come celebrate on the front stretch, and unfortunately, we're ARCA, right?
They probably didn't think of it. Yeah.
So I'm sure they would have allowed it, whatever. My guys had to move all the pit equipment. So I'm looking for them.
Oh, for the Xfinity?
For the Xfinity
come
race.
on.
I can't see them because I'm excited about what's going on, and I can't figure out exactly where they are. And I'm like,
well, the race did go a little long.
yeah. So I don't see them. Okay. So that's kind of where the interview on the front stretch kind of ends. Well, now I got to get in the car and I got to go find Victory Lane.
Did that little bit of a burnout, right?
Yeah, it was I needed a picture, right? I mean, how do you win Daytona and not have a picture
Well,
of a
you did
burnout?
cross the line alone. Nobody was beside you, so.
Right, but I mean,
After that.
that's just, I can picture that being on my office wall forever,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And not for the wrong reasons.
Right, and that's what I wanted. So I'm very conscious of my equipment. I did a little burnout. It turned the tires over way easier than I thought it would. So I think I only got, we were running really cool the entire race because we've been in the other side of it where we've been pretty aggressive with the tape, and we didn't really see much of a difference on the
And the tape
speed
right now
side.
is what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's very conservative.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to tell numbers because my crew chief would probably kill me if I did.
No, I'm not asking.
But we were way cool, right? So I go do my burnout, and I'm like, the burnout was before the interview, but I do my burnout, and I'm watching the water temperature gauge, and I'm nowhere near anything, right? You see them burning down, water plopping out, and so I just kind of do a little bit of a burnout. I definitely could have went more. I start coming backwards down the hill, and I get into the rocks,
Yeah.
the marbles, I guess. And I'm like, oh crap, the tires are going to come apart. So I'm like, I'm done. Because I don't want to have to put crush panels back in this thing.
I was going to say.
So,
no crush panels.
So it's a little bit of a light burnout. We do the victory interview, and
As you're doing the burnout, are you thinking, what am I going to say?
No, I'm concentrating on not hurting the motor. So I'm watching everything, and I've never done a burnout like this, right? So I don't know if the water's going to spike because I'm putting, I know how engines work, right? I'm out here working on them all the time. I understand But, you know, in the heat of the moment, I'm thinking, oh, I'm doing the burnout. And I reach over and I turn my fan on just to make sure I don't get warm.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of like start going backwards because I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. You can't see nothing. There's smoke everywhere. So then I roll up and I'm like, I want to be right at the start finish line. That's where I want to be. I thought about going down to where my pit crew was and go on that end. But I'm thinking like pictures and, you know, it's the start finish line at Daytona, you know, and that's where I stopped, right dead smack. She comes to me, and I'm in disbelief. Clearly, I stated it when I got out that guys like me aren't supposed to.
But you
do
weren't
this.
talking; you were screaming.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited, right? Yeah. And yeah.
But the neat part about that was the raw. I mean, you talk about raw emotion. I mean, that was it. To everybody, I think. I don't know. Like Jamie Little said, you know, she said, I'm up here crying. And I you know, you got a lot of hardened. I'm sure you saw a lot of that from a lot of different people,
yeah.
You know, that were so excited.
It's
like, wow, when is the last time something like this has happened?
Yeah, I've got countless messages of people that told me I had them in tears. And it's funny because when I watch it, I'm like, what a goofball. Like,
no.
Well, and I understand, but
no.
you know, I mean, like Austin Cindric talks about the vein popping out of my head, and
right.
You know, it's just like I laugh at myself, right? And so I mean, to me, it's funny, but it's cool at the same time that like, you know, the whole racing community is like, oh my gosh, you know, and. So it is funny.
Literally the whole racing community.
Yeah. So it's funny because everybody's like, I have text messages like, man, were you all right? You look like he's about ready to pass out. But here's the thing, like Jamie.
But what a way to go.
I don't know how tall Jamie Howe is. Probably
definitely not as tall as you.
Right. Like I'm 6'3", right? She's probably, and I don't want to, you know, insult her or anything, but she's probably 5'5", 5'4", somewhere in there.
Yeah,
I don't know. I met her one time.
Guesstimate.
Before the race. She came over and did a quick introduction and asked me a few questions, and it was probably one of the more awkward interviews I've had because I don't know what I was doing, and then like someone was like, hey, she's wanting to talk to you, and I don't want to say I didn't know who she was, but I didn't know who she was, and she went like right into business mode, right? And in interviewing it was just, I felt like it was an awkward interview because you know, I've had other interviewers, Jamie Little's one of them, Phil Parsons, are like, man, you're so easy to talk to. And I was like, you know, she probably has this she probably has this whole impression that like, this guy's kind of weird, you know, because the way the just, you know, the way the circumstances, I don't know what I was in the middle of or whatever. So anyway, I'm on the banking and she's on the downhill side of the banking.
Yeah.
So like, I can see her, like she's reaching up with the mic, and I kind of see that the camera guy's struggling to get both of us in the camera. So I bend down to like try to get down to the same level for the camera. But the camera doesn't like pan down. They get me like I'm about ready to pass out. And then like, not the camera guy, but there was like a support guy. I don't know what their job is called, but like he kind of slips on the banking. So then I'm thinking, oh man, we're here celebrating and somebody's going to fall down the banking because I went all the way up to get the flag. So I'm kind of sitting there thinking like, hey, let's go down to the flat and do this. But I mean, you can't, right? You have to, like the interviewers, I mean, they have to get the moment.
Yeah.
And then once the moment's gone, right, and then they're short on time. So anyway, I'm kind of thinking like, hey, let's go down to the flat so somebody don't fall. I don't know if that's the father in me or, you know, I don't know.
Maybe the experience.
Right, like I just won Daytona and I'm worried about the camera guy falling backwards down the bank, and it's silly, I know.
You played Tetris in real life. You got all the pieces. You're putting all the pieces in place.
Yeah, so I don't know. So anyway, that's all done. I said what I said.
What did Denise Flag girl say to you? Because I know they have, it depends on who wins. Well, it's just her up there now, right? Rocky's not.
Yeah, it was just her.
So then she's always giving the flag. I forget I said that.
I don't know exactly what she said, but it was something to the effect that I have given a lot of these away, and this one is cool. Something to that effect. It's funny because her and I had some words in tech, not in like a, not in a bad way. I mean, she's
She wanted it one way, you wanted it another.
right. And I told her it was a tech official versus car owner situation, not a driver versus flag person situation.
Right.
You know, and it was a respectful argument, I guess is the best way to put it. I didn't cuss her out. She didn't cuss me out.
She was doing her job.
Right. She's doing her job. I'm just kind of like not agreeing with it. So
imagine that in racing.
well, yeah,
tech
imagine
line,
that.
right?
A racer that doesn't agree with the tech, right? So anyway, all that's done. I get back in the car, and I got to drive back. But, you know,
And your
obviously,
spoiler's got to be checked.
yeah, all the tech's got to be done. We got to go to Victory Lane first, right? So I'm trying to figure out, like, do I go all the way around the track?
Yeah, good point.
And I'm like, it's a long way.
It's a long way.
And I'm like, there's no fans. There's no fans on the backstretch. They're in the RVs, right? And it's like, well, that would be boring. Who wants to drive all the way around a 2.5 mile track? I just did it 80 times, and like, I want to celebrate, you know? So I drive down, and I do come backwards down the track, up close to the wall. And I didn't understand something. I didn't understand why so many people were standing up cheering for an ARCA driver. Like it didn't, it's still, you can tell I'm kind of getting a little choked up here, but.
I was going to say, is his throat, or is he getting choked up? Because
It,
trust me, it was a incredible moment.
right,
Trust
but
me. Making me get choked up now. Thanks.
right, but the thing is like, it's just me. You know what I mean? Like, not like it's just me on the front stretch. Like,
But it's not just you anymore.
right? It's just the guy that's not supposed to win this.
In other words, everybody now knows how to say your name.
That is true.
Greg Van Alst.
That
They
is
know
true.
now.
I didn't even think about that. I have not heard my name butchered since Saturday.
Right.
But what I'm saying is like I drive around and I see a couple people and they're going nuts, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I'm driving and I'm holding the flag, and I see people like running down the stairs, the stands to cheer.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is crazy. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching and I'm just looking up in the stands, and like everybody's cheering. Like, I'm just absolutely.
No, we couldn't hear that on TV. But
Well, they didn't show it.
Yeah, right.
Like
Well,
TV's done cut off.
yeah.
I mean, I seen
went
they cut off and they're going
went
to
on.
race day
Xfinity.
or whatever for Xfinity. And I don't know this, right? Like, but as I'm driving, it's just like, so many people are cheering and pumping their fist and clapping and it's like a standing ovation, and I'm like, I guess I don't know what the right words are, but it's like that's never happened. So I'm like, what happened?
The right words were what you said on the front stretch. Guys like me are not supposed to do this.
But at that time, I don't even know that I remembered I said that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It was a heat of the moment. Like,
But that's the feeling that everybody had.
Right.
It's like, wow.
yeah,
We just saw this.
Yeah.
And no offense to you, it would have been the same way with Jason White.
right.
And no offense to Jason White, it would have been the same way with Sean Corr. It's like, wow.
Right, Sean Corr, Kitzmiller.
What do we just see?
It's like everybody keeps trying to bring up the David versus the Goliath. I think the fans understand, like, those manufacturers and those teams that are in the ARCA series and how strong they are. So if someone is to win a race in the ARCA series, it's tough to do because you have to beat the best of the best, right? And then to do it at Daytona, and I guess that's what the fans have
Everybody's
seen.
looking there. And
Right.
Kicks off the season. Statistically, the best ratings of the year for the most
Yeah.
part. And you'd seen the video I put up before this one. The reason that ARCA was created. They don't really get into that a whole lot, but they had a 60-car wreck, or what was it? I forget, in a modified race. I mean, my God, and that's the last thing France wants to see is, 978 cars wrecking a NASCAR race. Let's do something else. We need a training ground. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? Let's mend the fences. Let's get it back together.
Yeah.
Johnny's my buddy. Come on, bring you guys down. Change the name, and you'll be the training ground. Then start wrecking an ARCA. Oh, 98 car wreck in the ARCA race. But then by the time they get to NASCAR, there's the experience. Well, you also want them to the little short track guy comes on up. Cloverleaf was John Markham, Toledo, Bearfield, I don't know if you ever promoted Anderson, Flat Rock. That's where they're supposed to come from. And back to what we were talking about earlier, the rich kids, people don't understand, that it takes money to do this. Well, now you got the non-rich kid that came up through the short track ranks, and bam, now he's going to victory lane. And like you said, wrap it all up in a nice, pretty little bow. What you said, you shouted it. Guys like me are not supposed to do this. And I can't think back to a moment like that where a quote unquote, back a better word, underdog did what you did at Daytona. Like I said, Flat Rock, yeah, Toledo, Kilcare, whatever. But Daytona? Huh? I mean, what did Banjo Matthews have in a shot? Money by speed, how fast do you want to go? And that's usually what it was. Well, it wasn't just money here. It was everything came together. And you didn't luck into it. 98
right.
Cars didn't wreck in front of you. It didn't start raining. And then, you were out on the track, when everybody else pitted. It wasn't that. It was...
This is a genuine race.
You blew by him. You moved down. You beat him to the line. And that was it. I mean, it couldn't have been any... And even in a situation like that where, okay, it rained, or 78 cars wrecked, or whatever. I still can't think back to a quote-unquote true underdog story like that's Dream World. It just doesn't happen, let alone the way you did it.
Yeah.
So now you're in victory lane. I know I'm going to get yelled at in the comments again. Let him talk. I interview. You talk too much. Blah, 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 blah. Well, he's a racer. He doesn't know what he's saying. I got to lead him to where I want to go. No, I'm just kidding. So now you're a lot of times you can't find victory lane, but now you know where it's at.
So
the big black building.
The crowd is going nuts. I
you got 4,000 fingers
right.
pointing.
You're hearing whistles blow. You're hearing cheers, and I'm being pointed where to go, and obviously never a path I've never taken, and so they get me to a certain spot, and they. The ARCA official that's pointing me where to go, he's kind of like giving me like the, way to go, but I can't show it. And
right.
I turn the corner and Charlie Crawl's standing there. And I won't go on to say what he said, but like he was ecstatic. And I mean, I'm already pumped and in disbelief, and he's pumped up, and he's what he's telling me, and I know Charlie, right? So we're doing, the all right, that's awesome, stuff that was said, whatever. And someone down there is like trying to get our attention, like getting frustrated that we're not coming. Well, that's the victory lane people that work for the track. That's like trying to get us to move, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I got to get going. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to turn in and there's victory lane. Well, no, then you got to make another turn. So then it's like I finally get turned and I get turned in there, and there's not really anybody there. My crew's not there yet, the same time, like I'm turning in and they're kind of filing in kind of one at a time, and I'm kind of just scanning and looking, and you know they're pumping fist and all that, and I'm sitting there, and then here come my wife and kids. And my wife is not a crier, and I have not seen her cry in a long, long, long time. And it's just like pulling at me, and I'm trying to get out to get to her.
Yeah. But
Right?
they want you to stay in the car.
And they're like, no, you got to stay, you got to stay. And she's just over there, got her mouth. And I mean, you know, it's, you know, I mean, that's my queen. Like, I want to get to her. She's bawling her eyes
I can't come
out.
to you, but you come to me.
Right? Like, I'm trying to, like, you know, like, I'm trying to tell her, come get to me. And then, you know, I think Carson Hocevar comes in. So, I mean, I know it's good cries, right? Like, but I still want to get to her. And, you know, I can start, my guys are starting to file in. Carson Hocevar comes in, and Carson Hocevar is a longtime friend. And then, and so then I can finally get out, right? And it's like, you know,
They're going, the photographer's over there.
yeah,
Point that way.
I mean, and they are. They're like, hey, you got to look that way. You got to, you know, and it's like, you know, mentally in my head, I'm like, okay, I don't want to make anybody mad because the Menards thing is there, and it's like, you know, I'm ecstatic, and I'm like, I go to hit the roof of the car, and I'm thinking, don't hit it too hard, don't break through the roof, don't knock the Menards thing off, and you know, it's just like, I don't know, brain's going 100 miles a minute.
Playing Tetris again. Tetris again, yeah.
And I turn around, and I want to get to my crew.
Yeah.
So I go to turn around, and there she is crying, and I just right to her.
Yep.
My boys are my oldest son's crying. And I grab him, and then it was just another whirlwind of people pulling and telling us we got to do this and we got to do that, and
I only got 2 ears.
it was
48 different directions.
It was some of the greatest chaos I've ever been part of. But yeah, I mean, it was I wanted to give each one of my guys a high five and a hug, and I don't know how many of them I was able to get in, but I got to a few of them, and then it was like, hey, you got to do this, and hey, you got to do that, and hey, you got to do this, and hey, you got to do that, and you know, I mean, these are the guys that have blood, sweat, and tears for years and years and years, and it's like, you know, you just. You want to give them a high five. You want to chest bump them. You want to do all this crazy stuff. Like, you just want to get all that energy out, and you have to like talk about, you know, hey, how'd you make that pass? And it's like, you know,
they want that raw, like I said earlier, that raw moment, that raw emotion moment.
Right, and I get it, but it's like, you know, I don't know. You picture Victory Lane like. I guess it's because when you watch it on TV, like
it's scripted and choreographed.
Yeah, those guys have done it before.
Yeah.
Because and I did see a comment on like NASCAR on Fox TikTok or something like that, and somebody was like, "Man, act like you've won before." Dude, I have not won before, right? Like I've never won at that level
guess
before.
what?
So like.
I haven't.
Next time I will act like I've won before. It'll still be a great celebration, but it won't be as colorful. But yeah, I mean, we were just being pulled from every direction, and then you know we're trying to get pictures, and this goes. I want to go back to you know, I'm getting pictures with Vern from Vern's Concrete. I'm getting pictures with all my guys. Rick Horn from.
That's okay.
Rick Horn from Econ Cruise there, and you know he's a sponsor that's on at Daytona. He's gonna help us out in Kansas. And so I'm trying to get pictures of everybody that I can, and getting family pictures and stuff. And we keep trying to bring CB in, and that man is so humble, right? He's like, no, it's for the family, it's for the crew. It's like. You know, so
CB, you are the crew. What are you talking about?
Right, so we're like trying to get him in the middle, trying to get him in the pictures, and I was so worried because I couldn't remember about the pictures, and I didn't remember getting a picture with just me and CB. Right?
We can crop that.
Well, so the pictures come out, and there's like 91 of them, scrolling through. And there is one with just me and him. So it's like, Okay, we got that. Because I was afraid like he was going to be off to the side, but apparently enough people had pulled him into the middle to where he's right there. You know, and I wanted a picture with just like me, my mom, and my dad. I wanted a picture with just me and my wife. I wanted a picture with just me and my boys. And there were so many pictures that I wanted, and we couldn't get. Like they kicked us out. I mean, it was like, you know, like we want this, we want this, we want this, and they're like, okay, one more picture. One more is all you get. One more. I mean, they told us one more like 20 times. And
well, we'll take it with our cell phones. I mean, you know, the Xfinity race is starting. What do we care? Ain't nobody gonna be.
Yeah. So I mean, there's so many pictures that I would have like loved to have gotten and been able to get, and you know, and you don't know that because you don't know if you've never been there that they're gonna do certain things in certain ways and
not to make this about me because I always get the feeling. I hadn't missed Daytona since 2014. No, I didn't go this year. I'm like, $300 for a motel room. So I'm going to Sebring instead for the website. So I didn't go to Daytona this year. And when the broadcast went to the Xfinity race, I looked at my wife and said, "Oh, I wish I'd have gone." Dang it! You know.
Yeah.
So and I probably would have been able to take your pictures for you with my cell phone.
Well, like I said, they picked us out. They basically told the crew like, "Hey, it's time. We got to take the car." They take the car to tech, and Charlie Crawl grabs me, and he's like, "Hey, we got to go to the media room." And I'm like, I don't want to leave my crew, my wife, my kids, my mom, my dad, my CB, all my people, right? And so Charlie's like, "Okay, well, wife and kids, let's go." So he's able to get the wife and kids to go with me, and you've seen. I mean, I don't know who's seen, but there's video, and they pull me and they put me on stage, and my wife and kids come walking in and sit down. My mom and dad's in the back, and that was when it was like,
you're looking out over the sea of all these reporters, just these blank faces there. Or did they? Sometimes they applaud the winners. Did they?
No,
what did they give you?
No, it was.
Because most of them don't are ARCA guys. I hate to say it.
Yeah, we walk in and it's all kind of buzzing and busy, and you can tell everybody's kind of working, and then it just went like dead silent. and I don't know if it got out, but I went, "This is awkward."
I remember you said something kind of funny, and I thought people chuckle and but that was it. Okay.
Yeah, just because it was just like I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like, you guys are supposed to tell me what to do.
The video I gave you can see it. It's like the front stretch guy was recording. He put it on his channel, and you hear in the background. Then all of a sudden,
nothing.
Cricket.
And I don't know if there was a signal. I don't know, like, if Charlie crawls over here on the podium and he's like, gives a hand motion that like everybody knows. Because I mean,
I think that we kind of know. I think it's time to start asking questions. But sadly, again, a lot of people don't know ARCA people. So I mean, Cup press conferences, they got Ricky Stenhouse. If you ever go watch it on YouTube, I mean, they got 1,000 people asking questions. The video I gave you was 12 and a half minutes. So I don't know how long it lasted. I don't know if you remember how long it lasted. You could tell he cut it off before it was over, but I don't know how far before he cut it off that it lasted. But so now you're packing up. You guys go back to the house. Did you celebrate that night? Or
yeah, we.
That was at Giuseppe's that night? Or?
Yep. We went again. Going back.
Take the trophy in there and sit down.
Oh yeah, yeah, we did. We had to figure out a place to park the hauler.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We're ARCA guys, right? Daytona's like, can't have it here. Got to leave it, and so we end up taking it. Obviously the Dye family is from down there, so I'm calling Daniel Dye and saying, "Hey, is there any place we can park the hauler that you know of?" And he's like, "Well, let me make a phone call." Calls his dad. His dad calls me. We get lost. We turned the wrong way. Oops. So it took us forever, and I'm pumped up, and Brandon's with me, and he's trying to navigate. My phone's going crazy. His phone's going crazy. My wife's calling me because she's like, she knows which direction because her GPS is telling us we need to go the other way. So my wife's calling me like, and it's a stick shift truck, and it's like we're trying to do everything, and I'm still like, can't believe, and I'm cloud nine, and I'm trying to drive the truck, and then I get turned around, and we finally get it parked, and then we make it over there, and I don't know what's about to happen or anything,
right?
And
and you don't want it to end either,
Right. So we get in there, and I haven't reached out to Daniel's dad, but I really appreciate what he had done, because he kind of like coordinated our celebration, right? Like he's done it before. So, I mean, we've won races. We've won at in Anderson, Winchester, and stuff. And you just go and you go and
Waffle House or whatever. Yeah.
it's usually a steakhouse, but yeah, and it's that's about all it is.
We don't have Waffle House in Detroit,
right?
so trust me. You go to Waffle
But
House.
we're like I'm thinking, man, we're gonna party, right? And we're not a big party team, but he kind of took charge of the party, and I think Rick Dawson from Anderson Speedway brought champagne, and
Oh, wow,
I've
okay.
never opened a bottle of champagne, so I didn't know what to do with it. So Daniel's dad's over
Do I
there.
spread? What do I do? Not in here. You don't.
His dad's over there trying to show me how to open the bottle, and it was kind of comical. And then he's tries to tell me how to open. Well, I didn't know that when the oxygen hits it, it goes crazy, and I take a drink and it just goes everywhere. And I knew my wife was in a really good state of mind when I go to pour it and it like goes all over her, and she just laughed about it. Like normal Christy, I'd have probably got backhanded, or what the was you thinking, something to that effect. And it was just like, no, nothing